Welcome to the Imperfect Couples podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification button. I am Ashley and this is my husband Josh.
I am so excited. So excited for our new podcast, and this is our new journey. This is our first episode, so first episode might be a little technical, rough-ish, but we're going to be okay. We're going to get through it. All that matters is the topics we're going to discuss and try to help other people. Really, that's all that matters right now. Don't you agree?
I agree.
Yeah. So there's a few things that we want to talk about, but real quick before we talk about these topics and get to this, I want to give a real quick synopsis of mine and Ashley's relationship. We've been married for over 11, 12 years. We've been in love with each other for almost 20 years, which is crazy to even think about. It's been that long. We started dating sophomore year in high school, and we've been in love ever since. And we've been through ups and downs. We've been through relationship counseling, and just it seems like nothing was working out until we finally realized certain things had to change, and now we're in a absolute happy relationship. Don't you agree?
I agree.
And so there's some things that we want to discuss with people, and this is why we created this podcast, because I believe society has completely destroyed the marriage and destroyed the family home. And so there are some things that we want to discuss, and I'll let you go ahead and start off with our first thing.
Well, you're going to read the statistics, aren't you?
Oh, am I going to read the statistics?
Yep. Oh. Yep, you're going to be reading the statistics.
Okay. So, that being said, let's talk about divorce statistics, because our podcast this week is entitled "Why Most Marriages Fail," and this is the little statistics we're going to read for you guys. Okay, so divorce statistics: 60% of marriages that end are between the ages of 25 to 39. Women are usually the ones that initiate the divorce, which is 70% of women usually initiate the divorce. That is a lot of that's a big percentage. 75% is because of a lack of commitment. So, and between 20 to 25. Now, these statistics it depends. Here's the thing: when you talk about statistics that we're going by is the CDC statistics, but there are different statistics. It depends on who you're actually going.
It was kind of hard to find like the same information going from page to page. It's all around the same. It varies up and down a little bit.
It does, and it's just hard to find real true statistics anymore. And I'm sure you guys understand that. But the statistics that we found is between 20 to 25% of marriages are they cheat on each other, or infidelity, and it's pretty sad that is the way that is. 36% is because of financial reasons, and that's a big thing. That
especially now.
Yes, especially now, absolutely. And we're going to talk about these things on our podcast and a few other topics as well on this. And so I will go ahead and ask you, my girl, is why do women initiate the divorce, baby girl?
I think that women initiate 70% of the divorce because we tend to have this princess complex. We were taught when we were younger as girls, not all girls, this isn't every woman, I'm not stereotyping every woman into one category. It's not what I'm doing. I'm saying some have a princess complex where they grew up thinking that they were essentially kind of perfect. Like everything they did was okay. It was so good. It's that princess complex. It's that I do no wrong. I don't have to say sorry because I do no wrong. And then another thing would be feminism. And we'll talk about that in a whole nother episode. That's a whole nother thing.
That's an episode we will be getting into.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And and I want to say with the princess complex, you end up growing up under this kind of like an illusion that everything is great. So it's false. It's all false.
So like society is teaching these women that like, oh, this is how you should be.
This is how a lot of it is. Like they feel like, because I'm a girl, I am delicate, I am sensitive, so I am perfect and I can do no wrong and it's up to you. I'm not saying all women, I'm saying some. And then going on to the feminism part, that I think is another thing that is a big hindrance in why women initiate divorce. Because a lot of times, and there's nothing wrong with strong women. I want to make that extremely clear.
We are raising strong girls. Well, I'm trying to raise, and so are you.
Yeah.
Both of us are trying to raise our girls to be strong girls.
And there's a difference between being strong women, being strong girls, and having like a feministic attitude and perception on things. It's huge. It's totally different. Women who are feminists or have more feministic tendencies have this in their head that I don't need you. I can do me and me alone. And also, if you're not doing something that I find acceptable or that I like, or if you're not doing something 24/7 that appeases me, forget you. I don't need you. Screw you. I can do it on my own. And that alone, that mentality is not a working together mentality. Honestly, it's more of like a singles mentality. That's like a single person's mentality, is the I don't need you part.
Oh, I
agree.
agree.
The feminists, they really attack the I don't need you part.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. One thing I do, like you said, we will discuss the feminism in another episode. That will be another episode that we will be discussing it in. But I'd like to rebound on that. You're absolutely correct, and it's sad that it has to be that way, where we can't join together as one, and because we're both on this planet, we all breathe the same air. We all have we have different types of blood type, but we all have blood pumping through our veins. Nobody is more special than the other. Every human being is literally created the same. I mean, we may have different tendencies and how we are, how we portray our things.
Yeah.
We mentally we may be different, all that jazz, but we're all human beings in the same sense.
Yeah.
And it's just, and the lack of the feminism thing is also the lack of God as well. But like I said, we don't want to get too much into that.
No.
Because that's another episode that we will be talking about that as well. And it's.
Well, my question was, I was going to ask you, what do you think that men have a part in why women initiate the divorce? After what, what you heard what I said, but what is your opinion? Do you think men have?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you said, the feminism part is an issue as well. And here's an issue as well, that men don't want to tell the truth and women cannot handle the truth. And once you get into that type of relationship where it's lying and whatnot, then it's so bad. It just doesn't work out very well. Mm-hmm. And you guys just can never seem to get along with each other at all. And when a man feels like he has to lie to his girl, because whenever he does tell her the truth, and then she gets mad that he tells the truth, it's unhealthy. Like, we cannot live that way. If we can live in a life where we could I can tell you the truth and say, hey, listen, this is something that happened.
Right.
It may upset you, but
we struggle.
You have to accept the fact that I told you the truth.
Right.
That it, instead of saying, I don't know.
Again, it's that princess complex.
Absolutely.
Where we do no wrong. We cannot accept things.
Exactly.
It literally, what you said, literally just tied together.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then, men are going to have to learn to tell the truth, and women are going to have to accept that a man is going to tell you. There's some things that a man will tell his girl that upsets him, that bothers him. And same thing with women to men. Like, there's things that women that are going to tell a man that upsets her, and us as our spouse need to accept that this bothers them. So instead of getting upset that this bothers them, we need to learn to sit back, listen, and just accept the fact that this bothers them, even if it may be, the topic may be about you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This bugs me that you do these things.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry this bugs you that I do these things. And that's one thing I believe, and we'll be honest, that Ashley and I have struggled with a long time. And we still are trying to learn and build our relationship in a better way when it comes to, because that is a big thing, honestly, I believe. I believe that is a big thing. We have to be truthful with each other.
Yeah.
And we have to learn to accept that the other person is truthful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's one thing that I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I get you.
Okay, so we talked about the lack of commitment. We talked about the fidelity. We're the percentages I was giving you guys. So another thing I want to like to discuss is the unfaithfulness, because that's on a rise right now. As couples feel like that they could just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They could go out and have sex with whoever they want, and there are no repercussions. In all reality, there's a lot of repercussions in it. If you feel like you are going to cheat on your spouse and not get caught, then you are an idiot. That's all I'm going to say. You are a complete idiot. You're stupid, and because you get what you deserve. Honestly, I believe it. My baby girl, why do you believe that couples are unfaithful to each other?
I can't necessarily say I can talk for men. I can talk for women, and this is what I think. And again, this is not all women. This is just what I think on some women. A lot of times, if a woman was to go out and be unfaithful, most of the time it is because her emotional needs are not met. So a lot of times with a woman, it isn't always physical. It's not like she's going out and immediately the first thing is she's thinking, I need to cheat with someone, or I gotta, have sex with someone. That's not how that works. It's more of an emotional level. So, because all cheating is not just physical. It is emotional.
On a female side.
On a female side. And it could, men mainly are not emotional in that way, but females are extremely emotional,
right,
especially with sex and intimacy. So, if a woman if her needs aren't being met emotionally, she's going to clock out. She's going to check out. She is not going to have sex with you. She is not going to be intimate with you. She just isn't. Because she's not getting what she needs to feel that fire inside of her for you.
Absolutely.
And I had a friend who ended up being unfaithful to her husband. And it did not start from a physical sense. It started from an emotional need that was not being met. And then it escalated to other things. So, like I said, I can't answer for men. I can only answer for women and some women.
Right.
That's what I think when it comes to why women do that. It's all emotional.
Yeah.
There might be some that's physical, because there are some husbands who are not very physical.
Yeah, I've to rebound on you for that.
Yeah.
I have seen. Stop for a second. I'll edit this out. Okay.
Slow down a little bit. We're talking
To rebound on what you were saying, I do have some friends that are like that, who are physical men. And
they aren't, you said?
Yeah, they aren't
physical
physical men.
Okay.
And if you are not, if you're a man and you have issues with sexuality, you might want to get your hormones checked out. That's all I gotta say. I'm serious. Like, testosterone is the biggest thing that a man needs in his body. It's a serious thing. It could, if you have lack of testosterone, it could destroy how you can be depressed. You have no lack of motivation. You have where you're tired all the time. Weight gain. If you're gaining weight, your testosterone goes down. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. But that being said, with what you said, I do agree with that as well. I notice because men and women are very, very different in the sense of a man, You just touch him and he's ready to go. Okay, so, but a woman I've noticed to light her fire takes almost an entire day process.
It does. You
have to start in the morning, give her a kiss in the morning, go throughout the day, send her little love texts throughout the day, you know, and if there's any little hiccup, it's just, you know, it's rough, but you know, you gotta just these little nicks where you're just pushing these little things out to her, and because women are, their sexual needs are met with the mentals, the emotional part, and the mentals, and men it's just physical, like all that. So but we were talking about, okay, so I do believe also with men why. I can edit some of this out. What are we talking about?
I don't know. You trailed off. I have my notes. You started. That's why I wrote.
No. What? No, but I was rebounding off of what you were saying.
We were talking about my friend cheating.
Right.
And then we talked about how it's not always physical, but a lot of times with a man, even it's not always physical. Sometimes with them, it's not physical because they don't have that sexual feeling. That was it.
Okay, we were talking about cheating. Cheating, right?
Yeah.
Cheating. Okay. And to give my opinion on men, on why a man would cheat. Okay. And now I have never cheated on my wife ever in my life. But I can say this: I do have friends who have cheated on their spouse, and I've talked to them about that, and they were not getting any. They weren't getting any sex from their wife. You know, here's the thing: when it first starts out in the relationship, you're hot and heavy with each other. You love each other.
Yeah.
It's more infatuation in the very beginning of a relationship.
Infatuation.
Exactly. So, you know, and then over a period of time, we'll get into this as well, but you have kids possibly and blah, 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 you know, and then things start going downhill sexually. You know, you guys may gain weight. One person may find the other one less attractive at that point more, whatever the case may be, okay? Her needs aren't getting met as well. I'm sure that's a big issue, like you said, but the man is, and it's one thing that females need to understand about men, is that a man is more physical than anything. So a man needs to be touched, okay? And when he is touched, then his mentality of how to love a woman grows even greater. And when a man's needs aren't being met in that certain situation, then he feels like he has to reach out to someone else to get that, you know. And that's one of the issues we're having today with men. And men aren't men anymore; they're boys as well too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we can't talk to each other. We can't talk, like, men and women can't seem to have a normal conversation. Hey, listen, my needs aren't getting met. We need to understand that my needs aren't getting met in the female. Mine either. So let's work on meeting each other's needs.
Yeah, a lot of people nowadays are extremely offended. Even in your own relationship, it's crazy how offended you can be sometimes in your own relationship with things. It's pretty scary, honestly. You know? Because that should be the one thing you should never have any offense with is your marriage.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's something that shouldn't even be in the story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, so that's, you know, and unfaithfulness is horrible. Like, you know, you guys just need to talk it out. Talk it out. Don't be offended with each other, like you said.
Yeah.
And just
that's hard, though.
It is hard.
That's
it is
really
hard. But that's a part of marriage. That's a part of the journey of marriage, is trying to be able to talk to each other and communicate with love with each other instead of communicating with hate. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, you know.
It's...
So, also, we asked the question, why do 60% of marriages end at the age of between 25 to 39? Go ahead and answer that for me, would you? Why at this age that we're in right now with this age? And this is talking about really our age, baby girl.
Yeah, it is our age.
It's
isn't it?
our age area.
Okay.
So
I think it has a lot to do with the way that society is right now and what's being taught and what's not being taught. I think that has a huge impact. I think people also not understanding their roles as individuals. Because if you don't know what your role is as an individual, like your own person, you know what you're about, if you have any trauma, you've healed yourself, or you're in the process of healing yourself, because that can take a long time. If you don't have yourself in order, it's going to be very difficult, especially at that young age, to fulfill a marriage. Because you don't even know who you are, you don't know what you stand for, you don't know what you're supposed to do in life, because men are supposed to be women and women are apparently supposed to be men nowadays. How are you supposed to know what you're doing?
right.
You don't.
Right.
Modern society, there's no tradition. There's no the old way. It's all new, and whatever goes, goes. And
Yeah.
that's why nothing works, because whatever goes apparently goes.
And it like what you said, I believe that's why our grandparents, and as you know, the time gets more and more towards the end, like pushing towards our age, that like our grandparents, I believe that I saw a statistic the other day, is like 85% of people over 60 years old who are married are still married today.
Yeah.
Like they're still married because
Yeah.
they kept that values. If you go up and you talk to an older female or an older man and say how did you how did you thrive your marriage and how did it last so long, and they'll just tell you the exact same that you just said, baby girl.
Yeah.
It's just like we knew our roles, we knew
Yeah.
exactly what we needed to do.
Yeah.
Instead of arrogance and
Yeah.
it's yeah. So
Yeah. Well, a lot of it too is, they don't, we don't, as a nation, especially in this age group, the 25 to 39 age group, we're not taught to put God first either. God is out of the picture. And in turn, with God being fully out of the picture, our roles are out of the picture. And everything that is normal is out of the picture. And everything that's easy is out of the picture. And all the hard stuff gets put on you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes marriage hard.
It is.
Because all you have is the hard stuff. You don't have the easy way.
Right.
Like how it should be. It's all hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. God needs to be in the center of every marriage. That needs to be the number one thing.
If you talk to older couples, the first thing they'll say is God and communication. I've watched so many videos of people interviewing older couples, and those are the two most common things that they say. Keep God in the center of your marriage and in your lives, and communication is everything. If you don't have those two, you will not strive. You will not make it. It just won't happen. Something will happen. It will tear you apart.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I notice whenever we don't put God number one in our relationship, that things just start falling apart.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work out very well,
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard to do as far as like, because you're focusing on each other, but if you both take your eye off of that, as far as putting God in the center of the marriage, then it tends to slowly just disintegrate. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is also is the Bible even gives just an outline of how to be married and how to have your marriage and how to have a happy marriage. And a lot of people nowadays, even society, is against how that marriage, that traditional marriage, that's the old way. We don't go by the old way.
Yeah.
Well, you're not married anymore, you're divorced. So like, what's, like
you obviously did not.
You didn't work out, did you? I mean, this is how it is.
And it's not everyone.
It's not everyone.
Yeah.
I know some people who don't believe in God that have been married for a long time that have a happy marriage, but here's the thing. They put that same practice, they don't know it, but they're putting that religious practice into place.
Marriage.
And they don't know it, but they are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
I know what you're saying.
But yeah, I mean, we're at the point now where that's old school. You can't. It's don't be a traditionalist and one thing that we need to understand and may cause a little controversy as well, and I've not really argued, but people have just disagreed with me a hardcore about uh, this concept is that men and women are not created equal.
No, we're not.
At all.
Not in a bad way, in a good way. We're not created
Yeah.
equal, but it's a good thing.
I can't do what she does. She cannot do what I do.
Yep.
And that's just how it is. And society nowadays is teaching that men and women are created equal. And we need to understand our roles in that. And you know, I need to understand that I need to be the man. I need to go to work. I need to provide for my family. I need to, if my wife has any problems with the house at all, any issues that she needs fixed, anything like that, I have to be the man to step up and do things like that.
Yeah.
You know, I have to be the breadwinner, and she has to be the caretaker. And it's just, you know, and I know you wanted to rebound on that situation, right? Like, as far as like the caretaker and all that.
Well, I mean, like, I prefer having that role.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I've always been very happy to be in that role. I like to spend time at my house, honestly. Like, I don't mind cleaning my house. I don't mind doing those things. I prefer to take care of my kids. I prefer those things. I'm not saying I couldn't go out and, you know, have a full-time job, but that's not what I'm really designed for. That's why, you know, I'm at home and I am, like, striving. I am doing well because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I am the best at this. And don't take offense to this. Like, I'm better at cleaning than you are.
She
but
is.
You're better at
She
so
is.
many different things than I am, but that's because that's my role and that's your role. You're supposed to be better at those things, where I'm supposed to be better at certain things. We even each other out. Because if you have two people, like, especially a married couple and a man who's working and a woman who's working, there's nothing wrong with that. And then, but she has more of those masculine tendencies, that's when a lot of fights are happening. And it's because the roles, they're not supposed to be like that.
Right.
They're supposed to be constantly offsetting each other instead of clashing with each other.
Right. Agreed. And there are situations, and I know a lot of single females that have to be the man and the woman.
For sure.
You
It
know,
has to
and
be like that now.
it's just how it is, and it's sad that it has to be that way. It really is sad that it has to be that way. I believe God has designed us to be with each other. I really do. I believe we are designed to have a partner with each other, and that way we can. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I need her. Like, there's society now is teaching that I don't need this person. I don't need a man. I don't need a woman. No. There's a reason why she was created for me. Mm-hmm. Like, and there's a reason is because I need her. I need her to balance out my life. I also need her. Like, there's things that, like, say for instance, we're driving down the road, and you know, a lot of times a man will be like, you know, I'm gonna speed up and go around this person, and then the wife will be like, well, I don't know if I would do that, because if you do that, you might end up getting a ticket. You know, there's some sort of reasoning. We have to have some sort of balancing and reasoning.
It's like a reminder.
A reminder, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, I need her to, yeah, absolutely. So, and it's not, the thing is society does teach, like, women are, like, being degraded from this. Like, this is degrading women on these teachings.
Yeah.
And it's really not.
It's not. It's degrading that they're saying it's degrading, to be honest with you. Because that just, you know, so no one's supposed to be a woman? I don't understand. Like I understand what you're saying, but if you really think about it, if being a woman and staying home is degrading, then I'm confused. Who's supposed to be staying home and doing these things then? That's what I don't understand.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
Right.
Someone has to.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and on the flip side, well, to add to that, baby, is that I also know women that do stay home and don't do those things.
And you know, that's something I want to bring this up, okay? Listen, I don't sit here and I do not clean and cook 24/7. I don't do that. That's unnatural. No woman does that. However, and I have my moments just like everybody else, and sometimes things happen. You have activities, you have things, you fall behind. That's normal, okay? But then you pick yourself back up and you get going and you do what you gotta do. For the women, it kind of grosses me out, I'm not gonna lie. It actually, like, disgusts me. For the women who stay at home and don't clean your house and don't cook, and there's always a reason why you can't cook or they don't like it or whatever, if you are not doing something, like I understand then why you would have marriage problems. I understand why your husband would have problems. Because if it was reversed, I would have problems. I think that that's completely unfair.
Absolutely.
Like, and I'm not saying that we as women have to clean 24/7 and we don't have to cook. We don't, because that's stupid. I'm sorry. There's other things, that happen. We have to help the kids. Sometimes we even got to help you do stuff, or we got to help our parents or whatever. We got to go grocery, all the stuff.
Yeah.
However, if it's one of those things where you walk into that person's house and it's always gross, there's a problem. That's sheer laziness. That's not even being a mother or a wife. That's just being lazy and not wanting to do anything. So there definitely is a difference with that.
And they're wondering why they have problems.
Right.
It's the same on the flip side with a man, okay? So men don't want to be men nowadays, and then they want to come home. I want to get on my Xbox. I want to, neglect the kids, neglect the wife. And I'm just using that as an example. As a guy who does like video games, I will tell you exactly my honest opinion on this, okay? So I get up, I go to work in the morning, I go to the gym, I come home, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I come home, I help my wife, whatever needs to be done. Sometimes I like cooking food. I'm going to tell you right now.
When he cooks food, it's
I love cooking food, and there's
He's a great cook.
Plenty of men out there like, a man should not be cooking. I'm like, no, man, I disagree, dude. I love cooking food. I love cooking food.
Gordon Ramsay, hello.
Yeah. So, I'll come home, help her with what needs to be done, and then I'll play with my kids and have a relationship with my family. Now, when everybody goes down, after I get done with certain things that I need to get done, I may spend an hour or two relaxing. That's my form of relaxation, is to jump on my Xbox and play a little bit of game sometimes. Ashley has her form of relaxation when everybody's down as well. When I come home, we spend time with each other, we love each other, and then we have that where we just both have our own time by ourselves, which is very, very healthy to have, I believe.
Yeah.
If you believe that you have to constantly be up each other's butt all the time, that's not very unhealthy.
It needs to be a healthy balance.
It does.
Because then it also can't be where it's like, oh, I just want to go do whatever I want to do all the time.
And that's what I was saying. For the men.
Yeah. Even for women, though.
Yeah.
You can't do that either. It has to be, you know what I mean?
Right. And so the men, and that's another episode, like I said. Okay, so to kind of rebound on the question we asked, I think a couple questions ago, about unfaithfulness. But this is kind of a little side B of the unfaithfulness in a way.
Okay.
Similar. We kind of discussed a little bit of it, but we'll go more into an emphasis of this is, why do you believe a lot of couples have a sexless marriage? I know we discussed a lot of that, but could we get more in depth on why a lot of relationships are sexless? Because I know there are a lot of sexless relationships, and it destroys the relationship whatsoever. And I know you said a lot, but
I mean, another thing that could be when it comes to a sexless marriage could also be, from a woman's point of view, again, because I'm the woman, I'm not going to try to do a man's thing. I'm going to do my own.
And when I ask that, I'm saying that's what I'm on from.
Right, I'm clarifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
When a lot of times when a family has kids, they're younger, maybe even not younger, but they have kids, they're newly married, we as women, our hormones are crazy, we get pregnant, we have these kids. A lot of us suffer, I know I definitely did, from postpartum depression, and it's very serious. It's an extreme serious matter. And a lot of times, women who have had kids, who are going through that, or just have young kids, going through that is awful. You're exhausted, you get no sleep, you can't go to the bathroom by yourself, you can't eat a sandwich in peace, you can't do anything. So as a woman's point of view on that subject, I would say that sometimes when you have kids, it kind of just happens for a little bit. it's rocky for a while, especially with your first. Not understanding your hormones, not understanding what you're doing. You don't even know what you're doing. This is all new. You're just flying by the seat of your pants. And, half the time you can't find your pants because you're tired. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what you're doing. So I think sometimes when it comes to that, it's, and it's hard for men, especially after having kids, because, you want to be intimate with your wife, and it's understandable, but also it's men need to understand that we cannot control the things that are happening to us. It is not something that we're trying to do to annoy you. It is not something we're trying to do to cause a problem. It's something that we physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally cannot handle. We can't figure it out. We're trying to figure it out. So I think sometimes that is part of the sexless marriage part from women, especially with kids. Sometimes it's just weird. It's too much. We don't know. We can't handle it. We're trying to handle a kid, but then we're also trying to make sure you're happy. And sometimes it's hard.
Right.
What I mean?
No, and I we've been through that before.
3 times.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's the thing also, like, we'll be honest with you guys, like, our first, like, when we had Raven, our first child, it was a little rough as far as that situation goes. It was a little rough.
I was also 20.
We were very young. We really didn't understand what true marriage was. We've spent quite a long time without intimacy. It did, but here, and the thing is it affected our relationship very bad. Like, we almost got a divorce multiple times. We've been through counseling, all that. What do you think? What do you believe that how can a woman, not really cure that, but get where she can, like, cope with that situation as far as helping her relationship with her husband out as well?
I think talking to her husband, and the husband needs to have an open mind too.
Yes.
There needs to be, the selfishness between both of them needs to be out the door.
Right.
They need to both understand that they're both human beings. I think that's one thing. Because I think sometimes we forget our spouse is an actual person.
Right.
We you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We take it for granted, and we don't actually see them as an actual real person with feelings, with their own problems, with things going on, first of all.
Right.
When it comes to women with, like, postpartum depression or anything after having kids, I mean, obviously seeking any kind of help, anything. It doesn't even matter who it is, just as long as you're reaching out. But reaching out to the husband, hoping that the husband has an open mind and, again, understands this is not something that's being done on purpose to affect him in a negative way.
Right.
This is something that we literally cannot control. I mean, there's no control in it. None.
I believe the postpartum depression thing, I believe that is a test for the male as well.
It could be.
I really do. I believe it's a test for the male for their marriage as well, to see if you're really committed to her whatsoever.
That's very true.
So, like, if you're really committed to your wife, and if she's going through these issues which she cannot handle, and it's mental and it's physical as well, it's affecting her body. Because things that she's looking at is like, oh, I'm fat, I'm this. Like, these things are going through her mind. Like, oh, I'm never good. Like, I can't be good. Like, I'm never gonna lose this weight. I'm never gonna do, like, all these things are going through her mind, and to the point of depression.
Yeah.
And
worse.
and sometimes suicidal thoughts on certain individuals. It's very hard. And the thing is a man, this will test your patience as a man. I know it did mine 3 times.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they say that postpartum depression is even worse when you have females, or whenever you have a girl child.
That makes more sense. And you have so many hormones.
Yeah, and it was hard. It was hard. It was hard for both of us. But here's the thing. Also, being able to talk about it and all that, and also being able to work with each other. I believe that females also need friends. Females need female friends, and there needs to be a balance as that as well. Like, where they need to be able to talk to their girlfriend, the girlfriend who is right there with them, the girlfriend that is literally saying, here's how you have a true girlfriend friend. And I'm not a girl, but I will put this in the same category as men. Okay, so let's just say friend then. Don't even have to put a gender to it. A friend. A friend is this. A friend is, hey, Ashley, you say, oh, I don't feel like going to the gym today. We'll do this as an example. I don't feel like going to the gym today.
Yeah.
And say, for instance, that other friend is saying, you know what, you're right. You don't need to go to the gym. You stay home. You relax. You chill out. You went to the gym yesterday. You're good. And your true friend, me, would say, no.
Get up
Come
and go.
to the gym. Get up. I'm trying to make you better as a friend to help you in the long run. You know, when push comes to shove and you're in a ditch, I'm going to be the one to help you instead of this person over here that's saying, oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. They're not your friend.
Yeah.
They're not your friend.
A person who doesn't make you grow, who doesn't make you get better, even if it's kind of mean, isn't your friend.
Yeah.
They're looking for you to fail.
Yeah.
If there's no push, there's no progress.
Exactly. And the reason why I'm saying this is because females need friends. They do. They need friends.
It's different.
And when a female does not have friends to be with, true friends, I noticed that they tend to become more depressed than men. Men don't necessarily need friends.
Yeah.
Technically. We can thrive by ourselves.
Yeah.
In a sense.
I get that.
In a sense. And I'm not saying we can, like, I hate being by myself, honestly. But they can. And females cannot.
Yeah.
Females cannot.
We're just wired totally different. We're wired emotionally where we need the emotional connection from somebody.
Exactly.
We need something emotional.
A balance.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, having a good friend will also help with that as well.
I agree. Having someone very close to talk to, which hopefully would be like a best friend or a girlfriend or your mother or, grandmother or whatever. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
On the sexless marriage with the male part, I do believe for men, and I've had plenty of friends that have been through this situation, which is sad.
Yeah.
But the sexless marriage on the male part is because there's times where it could be his fault as well. He's not giving her the emotional support that he needs. But let's flip it back where there are certain situations where a woman is caught up, like you said, in the feminism part where it's like, you know what, I can do what I want. I don't have to do this. I don't have to sleep with him. I don't have to. And it's a very dangerous mindset. It very is.
If honestly, this is the way, and listen, there were times before you and I were really working on stuff that I would have thoughts like that. But, I was younger, more in that age range, younger even than I am now. And, if that's the case, if a woman's thinking that, then why aren't you single?
Right, exactly.
Like, I
was
don't
about
understand.
to say that.
Like, that's a singles mentality.
That's a singles mentality.
For
and
both females and males.
Here's what it does to a mental, here's what it does mentally to a man as well when that happens. I just want females to understand this, okay? Coming from a male man, he will not tell you this because he's afraid to say something to you because you will be upset. But this is coming from a man, okay? So when a woman constantly shuts down a man sexually
okay.
and constantly, the man will turn to porn, okay? And mentally be messed up with that as well. And this is why porn addiction is on the rise right now.
Yeah.
And when he turns to porn, when a man turns to porn is a very dangerous thing as far as what it does to a man's psychic. It turns into a unrealistic reality for him as well. But at the same sense, it takes him where he wants to reach out to a female who is like this, who does want nothing more than to sexually satisfy him. And he starts becoming vindictive. He starts being very short with the female. Mm-hmm. He starts getting where he doesn't care, even care about whatever she wants at all. Like, doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like,
It's
you know
like he
what?
emotionally checks out.
He checks out.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
checks out because we need that. Men
Yeah.
are designed by God to have that. And if a female cannot produce that, then it's the relationship scrap. I'm telling you right now, it's a scrap. Your relationship, if you feel like you're in a happy sexless relationship, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
And but that also, like, men, like I just said, men need to work on that as well, as far as the simple fact that they need to mentally support their spouse. And you know, it doesn't have to be flowered, blah blah blah. It's just like, send text messages, like listen to her. This is a problem I have with because men are designed to try to fix things.
Yes.
Right? So my struggle right now, and I'm working on it, is that whenever my wife she wants to vent to me about a certain situation, my instinct is to, oh man, you know what, she's hurting. I have to fix that situation for her. In all reality, you know, she just wants me to listen. It's just all of this type of stuff that women need, because women need this. Men only need this. And once a man understands that a woman's needs, as far as how much they need emotional, and it's mostly emotional support, is really what it is. And in all aspects of emotional support, then the man will have a woman just like hang all over him, pretty much. Like, it's just, it's like, you know.
Again, it's we can be very annoying. We as women, we know it too. Like, we know we're annoying. We're not stupid. We're not naive. We know it can be very annoying.
Right.
I mean, you know, we try to sometimes just kind of control the emotional part. It's just hard sometimes.
Yeah.
It's hard. You know, we're designed very, very, very different. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It comes down to it, like, God needs to be a center of all this. It really does. He really does. He needs to be a center of the relationship in all aspects. I believe when a couple has God in the center, then they thrive, because they are basing their relationship off a biblical foundation.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So,
which is the traditional values that no one wants to participate in
that nobody
anymore.
wants to participate anymore.
And that's why everything literally is crap now. Because no one wants to do what was working. They want to try something new that they don't know if it works, but they're just going to say it works.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll do a quick conclusion on this, on how can married couples have a happy marriage. How can we have a happy marriage, baby girl? How can married couples have a happy relationship?
Well, definitely, it's not like what you said earlier. God has to be number one in the relationship and in your own personal life. So I'm going to tie two different things together. God number one in the marriage. God in general, number one. Then, also, God number one in your own personal life, as well as figuring who you are as a person, as an individual. Me as Ashley. Who am I? Because if I don't know who I am, if I don't know what I stand for, if I don't know what my beliefs are, if I have, again, like I said earlier, unhealed like trauma or something, if I have these things and I don't know who I am, how in the world can I be your partner? How? It's impossible.
Absolutely.
Like, I couldn't even help you because I can't help myself. So to me, it's really God number one, and then also God number one in your personal life, not just God number one in your marriage. And then that also ties into knowing who you are as a person, figuring out who you are as an individual, because once you know who you are as an individual, you will know your strengths. Then you can take those strengths and use them to help your partner. But if you don't have those strengths, if you don't know what they are, how are you really going to help your partner? That's what I think.
I agree. What advice, like, what's some steps and maybe some advice you would give to women who are struggling in their marriage, and how to make it better? And like how what are things that you do for your husband to make to make the relationship happier?
I think, again, kind of also just understanding, like, your roles and alone, I think is a big thing. I do. I think that helps. Because that helps me help you, and that helps you help me. Because we know what our roles are, and we know we're supposed to be supporting each other. That's what I think. I don't know how to answer. That's what I think, though.
Yeah. But what are some steps? Like, what are a couple of steps that you would give? Like, what are some things that you would give to a female individual who is married that
Is struggling.
is struggling?
God, number one. So, are you going to church? Are you doing any kind of reading of the Bible or looking up scriptures or anything? Something, even if it's like for 5 minutes. Something. Start small. 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes. You can.
And they grow from there.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Don't overload yourself because then you won't want to do it. You'll be, I think trying to understand if you have any unhealed trauma, which is something I'm working on now, and it's a very long process, but trying to figure out what that trauma is and incorporate different ways to cope and eliminate it. Not eliminate it, but accept it and move on. Because that is a big deal. Because, I mean, trauma is a big thing.
Yeah.
I feel like not being selfish is a good one. I mean,
it's a big one.
That alone makes a big difference.
Both
And
partners.
sometimes it's hard, though, because we as women can be extremely entitled.
Right.
So sometimes that's extremely hard for women, and I will admit it for most women. No one else has to out there. I will admit it, though. Because I know for myself, and I've seen other women who struggle. It's hard.
Yeah.
You have that princess complex that I do no wrong. I'm not going to say I'm sorry. I don't have to.
Right.
You're a human being. You really do have to, actually.
Yeah.
Because that's being a human being.
That's. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Finding people that you can relate to, which is very hard nowadays. Finding friends is almost impossible. So, if you can, that's great. Otherwise, you can reach out to your mom, your sister, your cousins, your grandma, and just having other women to talk to and get input from. And sometimes you need another woman to bring you back down to reality, too.
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
Yeah, I think to add to your thing is also understanding each other's needs.
Yeah.
What needs does she need? What needs do I need? So
yeah.
If we both understand each other's needs and what we want, and because let me tell you something right now, you're married. It is not a selfish relationship. Here's the thing, you got married, and you had to put your selfishness to the side. So when you get married, you sign a contract that states that you are with this person for life, sickness and in health and all that. But you're also with this person to satisfy them. Because, I made a post here a while back about, what are you women doing to satisfy your man or something like that. Man, you wouldn't have, 2, 3, 4 women just commented and said, I don't have to satisfy me. Like that is dangerous.
Then why are they married? Then why are they married?
Like it's crazy that how dangerous that is. And I can guarantee you, the women that said that, their relationships are complete garbage. They don't have to say it. I already know. Like he's not happy. And if a man said the other is the same thing, she's not happy.
Yeah.
And it's just understanding each other's needs is a big thing. You know, and advice that I would give men on how to have a better relationship with a female. Something that I have been studying and I've been learning, and because marriage is just one big study, is all it is, all throughout life.
Yeah.
You got to constantly build up to it. Your marriage will never ever be perfect. I'm gonna tell you right now. This is why this podcast is called The Imperfect Couple. And your marriage will never ever be perfect, but you could strive to have happiness in your marriage. And one thing I would give men, and a little advice for men, is one, you need to learn to just listen to your wife, and on that you also need to learn to communicate with her better, because I notice whenever we don't do that, it's completely, it's offsetting, and it just doesn't work out very well.
Yeah.
And if you want an intimate relationship, you're going to have to learn to be intimate yourself as well. We as men want to be able to be given, but not receiving. You know what I'm saying? So
what explain? What do you mean?
So what I'll explain to you is that we want the sex. Give us the sex, but we don't want to put in the work to have you be all over us and have the point where you're just like you're.
I get what you're saying.
And
like.
I'll edit this out.
It's almost like we want, you guys don't want to put forth the work, but you want us to be like salivating over you. Like, oh, I want to be with him. You want us to want you. We're selfish.
We want to be able to, give it, but we don't want to give it to the female or to our wives and have her engines revved. And which is we talked about, which is completely different. So advice I would give to you men is wake up in the morning, give your wife a kiss. Throughout the day, shoot her lovely text messages that would just rev her day up. If she's going through struggles, then you learn to just listen. And it's hard for us men to listen without reacting to situations. And on top of that, like what Ashley said, is we just need to learn to love ourselves before we can love others as well. The advice I give you is to communicate with your wife better. Learn to, if she tells you something that bothers her, but it will upset you, you're going to have to be man enough to leave all that pride aside. And just learn to, and this could go for females as well. So
yeah, I agree.
Learn to keep that pride aside and just understand, keep it in your mind that this bothers her, this upsets her, or this upsets him, and that it may upset me that she's talking about me. She's upset because of things that I do, but maybe this is something that just bothers her, and then learn to talk about it. And it's hard. It really is hard for relationships to do that. I know,
but you know what it is, too? It's like, the thing is we can be simple, us women. A lot of times, if you just listen, for some reason, just being able to be vulnerable with your husband, explaining the situation, being emotional, getting it out, sometimes that alone, somehow, not always, it fixes the problem. Believe it or not. Just because it makes you internally feel stronger. Because basically what you're doing is you're kind of giving us your strength by just listening.
Mm-hmm.
You're accepting it. You're accepting something you don't want to accept because, it's usually never fun when we sit there and complain about things. But, you're listening, and it just something about being heard as a woman, especially with a problem, it changes our mindset. It does things. It makes us think oh, I got it out. He listened. All right, we're cool. It's weird. I'm not saying every time, but I'm saying a lot of times that is kind of how it works.
Right.
It just makes us feel better.
Right. I agree.
I
agree with that. And like I said, it's so one thing I would recommend for everybody is that we have these two books here that Ashley and I absolutely love. This one is called His Needs, Her Needs. And I know I've put it out on social media before, but this is called His Needs, Her Needs. And it's by Willard F. Harley, Jr. It's a very good book. This will help you with your relationship. This will save your relationship. I'm not even joking. This is a great book. 5 love languages as well.
That's a big one.
You want to discuss maybe that one a little bit?
Well, it's just, not all guys, most guys, usually their love language is physical, but a lot of times it's actually tied with more than one thing. I know for myself, I have kind of a mixture of two, and I feel like you have a mixture of two.
Yes.
But in learning what your spouse's and your own love language is helps you communicate better what you need and what you don't need. So instead of, him sitting, because my thing is like, I'm not gifts are great, but that's not my love language.
Right.
So if he sits there and gives me stuff, like, that's appreciated, it's wonderful, but you're not necessarily meeting my needs.
Right.
Even though it's still a good thing to do. So in turn, learning about not only your partner's needs but your own will help, because then your communication is 10 times stronger and more open, and you guys understand each other better.
Right.
It's not always going to be perfect, but it just helps.
Yes.
It helps you understand your partner better.
Yes.
Because a lot of times you aren't the same as your partner. A lot of times the love languages are different.
Yes.
And it's really hard to understand unless you're actually reading about it and then implementing it with your partner. Do you know what I mean?
Right, I understand.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a good book. It is. It's interesting. It digs in there on a lot of things that you wouldn't think would be classified as a specific love language. There are things that I thought were like certain things, and I'm like, oh, that's considered that? I had no idea. Certain things, you learn things,
Yes.
It's interesting.
Yes, I agree with you. And those are two great books. Obviously, I would. This is your marriage handbook right here. Big time marriage handbook. The men are the men are the leader of the house, and they are supposed to lead by example. And one thing a lot of men don't understand is you are held accountable by God more than the women. Honestly, you are held accountable by how you raise your entire family by God. And that's one thing I never really drove into my head until just the past, 3-4 years, is that, God, because it goes God, the Father, Christ, and then the husband, and then the wife, and then the kids after that. But you are the head of the household. You are literally, God is holding you more accountable than anybody. So if you're raising your household in a negative way, and if your household is getting out of hand in a negative way, that is your fault, and you need to learn to build back that foundation of love and obviously with God and what He says in His handbook about marriage.
Yeah.
There is I believe there's a marriage passage that every marriage, and I'm not going to get too much into biblical scriptures, but there is a marriage passage, and I believe in 1 Corinthians chapter, and this one wasn't even in the notes, this is just off the top of my head. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Read 1 Corinthians chapter 7. That's one, and it shows you exactly how a marriage should be. There's more in Galatians and all that. Just Google it. But marriage is designed by God